Debate on Vote 7, Social Development, Western Cape Adjustments, Appropriation Bill.
I see Minister Fritz.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker, Honourable Premier and Cabinet colleagues, Honourable Leader of the Opposition, and also, and who's absent, always absent, by the Honourable Leader of the Democratic Alliance in the province, Honourable Badegezele, Honourable members of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, citizens of the Western Cape. It is always a pleasure, Honourable Deputy Speaker, to engage and to come and present this adjustment budget. And I want to say up front, it was so good to see Honourable Makeleni supporting our budget in the committee. And when I read the minutes afterwards, I saw that she didn't vote along the thing, but because he agreed to everything that we said in the minutes, and it was very, very enlightening to see that they don't support the vote. But we continue in a good spirit, Honourable Makeleni, so that we know that we can continue, and that this is just a show here. It looks like it because, you know, to show to the public that you don't support it, but in the committee you support us. Honourable Deputy Speaker, as with all other departments, my department has had to execute its mandate within an increasingly constrained economic environment. And, you know, we're in a specific environment of having statutory obligations that we must execute in our space of operation. We have gone into detail before at committee meetings with Honourable Makeleni present there, which was a great honour for us, regarding the many other shifts made by the department. And these are now a matter of public record. That's now a matter of public record. However, let me once again highlight the key shifts and adjustments made in this specific adjustment budget. Deputy Speaker, the department has in essence received a net increase of just over 2.5 million. And I want to thank the Minister of Finance with our MTech engagements that we tried to convince you. And I think we've survived a bit, but we can get more if it's possible. This has had the effect of increasing our budget from 2.108 billion to 2.111 billion. However, the increase is just half the story, Deputy Speaker. My department has also focused on introducing efficiencies in how we use this budget and how this has necessitated some shifts and adjustments. A key proposed shift has been to preempt the possible underspending of 7.4 million on compensation and in other areas. We've proposed to use it as follows. Top up our 3.9 million on outsourced secure care facilities. Secondly, allocate an additional 1 million to the substance abuse program, and you know the big need for substance abuse, specifically additional bed space, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Also the 1.5 million to our ECDs, that you know is again one of our priority areas. Sorry? The what? You can ask me in your speech. 1.1 million for disabilities, residential facilities. No, I'll speak to you, I'll respond to you. And an unexpected 1.1 million in drought and avian flu relief. And so we also have the kind of natural disasters that, Mr. Deputy Speaker, can you please protect me?
Yes, Honourable Makeleni.
Can I be protected?
You're on the speakers list, so wait your turn. Please.
Yeah, thank you, Remind. Thanks. It is important to note that all shifts are aimed at strengthening service delivery, Deputy Speaker. For example, the 1.1 million to residential facilities for disability will fund 3 organizations. The Western Cape Forum for Intellectual Disability, to train 203 staff in first aid and accredited home-based care training, and to facilitate the acquisition of police clearance certificates. And we have seen what happened in Gauteng. We need those police clearance certificates for people to work with our people who was most vulnerable, and specifically in the disability sector. The second NGO is Karel de Tooy Trust Fund to purchase audiometric equipment for improved and quick access to an early intervention service for deaf children. And the third one is the Vukani Center for Children with Special Needs specifically around transportation of those children and their, to the center, because they need to be fetched from home to the center. Deputy Speaker, my department is also asking for a rollover of 240,000 for the after-school game changer that has been declared a massive success. We have a very unique aftercare in terms of partial care system, and that has been a great success. Finally, we have reprioritized 3 million internally for ECDs, Honorable Makaleni. And this specifically, this is, and hear me quickly, hear quick what I'm asking, this is specifically to refund the re-registration of what we're busy with, and you know what we mean by that. As I conclude, I really want to make a final point about how the constrained budgetary environment is placing immense pressure on our service delivery ability, and more importantly, our ability, Mr. Deputy Speaker, to create opportunity. And it is this time, you know, it's time that this DA government call a spade and call out the national government for its inability to handle our country's economy and revenue collection. Even as the ANC opposition benches howl on the other side like they normally do. They howl because they can't do anything else. Even as they howl, we are really, you know, in a situation that because the truth, it really stings them very hard. And they too must admit that the corruption, the state capture, and the stealing of our state money at national level is really leading us to complete inability to service deliver. And I want to thank everyone for, you know, specifically my chair who's going to speak now, and the opposition. Makaleni is a very constructive member in the committee. She's just here disruptive, but I really want to thank her for her work and cooperation with us. I thank you.
Order. Order. Honourable Botha.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, to be a department that is responsible for the development of a society is an enormous responsibility. In some sectors, this would be regarded as a challenge that cannot be addressed. But in the DA-led Western Cape, we see this as an opportunity to assist our residents and communities to improve their lives. One can say this with confidence, as it is clearly evident in the Western Cape Department of Social Development's aim that they want to ensure the provision of a comprehensive network of social development services that enables and empowers the poor, the vulnerable, and those with special needs. Deputy Speaker, the Western Cape Department of Social Development has embraced this, and I'm well encouraged by it. Therefore, it is welcoming to note the department's upward budget adjustment, which has increased by 2,547,000 rand, putting it at 2,110,521 rand, and we support this vote. This increase allows the department, as the Minister has alluded, to be even more effective in the implementation of its programs. I'm especially encouraged by the emphasis that's being placed on the vulnerable in our society, where the department has set aside 1,115,000 rand for 3 organizations in the disability program. The organizations are the Western Cape Forum for Intellectual Disability, the Karel de Tooy Trust Fund, and the Vukani Center for Children with Special Needs. It does, however, not stop there, as the department has also set aside 100,192,000 rand for food aid for farm workers and families who are affected by the avian flu. By these few examples, once again confirms that with the DA, you have a caring, understanding, and knowledgeable government whose priority is the people of the Western Cape. Deputy Speaker, as we enter the silly season, it is quite unfortunate, but that some parents will neglect their parental responsibilities, and it will become this department's frontline personnel, such as childcare workers, community workers, and social workers who have majored in psychology, to receive children who will be in need of care. I thank them for being there to plot the healing plan to address the psychological scars as a result of the trauma that the children might be enduring due to the parents' neglect. Speaker, in conclusion, thank you to the Minister, the HOD, the Department for their unwavering commitment to improve the lives of our vulnerable groups. A special thanks to the Standing Committee, the Committee Coordinator, Ms. Nomonde Jamka, the Assistant Coordinator, Mary Ann Burgess, and the Media Officer for their support during the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Member. The Honourable Makaleni, now it's your turn.
Thank you, Speaker. Let me start by thanking the department for the hard work and for being patient with us when we're giving them tough time in the committees. Minister, you are correct. We will leave no stone unturned. We are going to ask those critical questions and we are going to make recommendations when necessary. Speaker, in the Western Cape, social ills, namely poverty, unemployment, gangsterism, teenage pregnancies, drugs and substance abuse, etc., are not by accident, but by design. In order to fight them and overcome, we need a strong, committed government. Unfortunately, this is not the priority of the present DA-led government. These adjustment estimates are a testimony to that. Everyone must be worried and concerned when even a cent is not utilized optimally in this department, in particular when it is meant to provide services to poor children and families. It is therefore not acceptable for this department to roll over 240,000 of the equity share from the main budget. Furthermore, 240,000 is related to training and capacity by non-profit institutions. What remedies actions taken against the NPIs? How has the game change affected by the non-delivery of the required services? These adjustments show about combined 339,000, which become available due to change from financial leases to operating leases. There is a combined underspending of more than 14 million due to internal promotions, resignation, retirements, and delays in the recruitment process. But these are not qualified. No one can say how many employees were either promoted, resigned, retired per sub-program. This does not reconcile with the fact that there have been a cry for additional staff to be employed, especially social workers and home caregivers. Then how come that many of the sub-programs could save or underspend from the very same? In contrast, the funds are shifted to fund shortfalls for computer software, for visual impaired, and shortfall for donation made in lieu of hardship and social ills, shortfall for audit fees, provision for payment of leave gratuity, shortfall of post-prioritized and field, registration of new and registration of existing ECDs facilities, consumer price index, increases to outsourced services and security services, shortfall for labor settlement, shortfall NGO stakeholder engagement, shortfall of capital equipment. We wish to restate out our view that many, if not all, of these sub-programs should have been adequately budgeted for during the main budget and equity share allocation. Adjustment budget should be utilized for priority programs in unforeseen circumstances that have the budgetary implications, namely floods, wildfires, catastrophic climate change, etc. There is a need to quantify what the 1.4 million will actually be used for in maintaining current base ECDs. The 3.9 million will be handed over to consultants and or service providers. This is open to abuse of taxpayers and the public purse, and unfortunately we're not comfortable with this. When examining the expenditure trends, we noticed that expenditure was lowered in administration, social welfare services, restoration services, and development and research due to unacceptable pay progression and performance rewards. Many NGOs and non-profit institutions operating in predominantly poor black communities are unregistered and not supported by this department. Only those who are singing from the same hymn book as the DA survive the day. We saw this during the Havoc fire in the Southern Cape and in Mizamo Yetu, where field workers from the NGOs wore DA t-shirts while they were rendering service to the victims in the name of the NGOs. The adjustment appropriation does not focus on the crisis faced by foster parenting because many of them are pulling out of the system. The most vulnerable section of this community is people living with disability. Yet in the annual report of 2016 and 17, only 1,702 people are accessing residential facilities in the province. Much number of the people with disabilities are left destitute and vulnerable. We visited protective workshops where we saw that they are without adequate equipment and material, which are necessary to render the required services. This results in the failure and have adverse effect on the young people accessing this program, yet this appropriation is silent on them. We know that there are only 8 youth cafes in the province situated in the city of Cape Town, Oudtshoorn and George. All other municipalities are without youth cafes, which is inadequate and unacceptable. Young people who are above 24 years are excluded from already limited projects and are therefore neglected. For an example, there are no focus program on youth development and children nutrition beyond ward centers and youth cafes. The appropriate adjustment continues to neglect women development and do not pay appropriate attention to gender discrimination. Instead, most of the monies go to government garage, which is not the main service delivery mandate of this department. In conclusion, we do not support this appropriate adjustment until it addresses the core mandate of this department. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister Fritz. Your turn again.
Thank you. I look at this blue book and sometimes I really have a laugh. I genuinely have a laugh. Because just on the last point, the honourable member with absolute respect, and I really like the member's passion. I really like her passion. But how does he expect the social workers to get to their points? Must they hitchhike on the N1 on Minister Donald Grant's roads with all the toll gates? They must use GGs. Or must they get bicycles? Perhaps bicycles is a good point. So please, man, please, let's be logical when we argue these points. The honourable member, and I really want to now, this is now a very personal point, I want to speak through the speaker to the honourable. But the honourable member, and she knows I have a lot of respect for her, but I had this huge awards evening of youth the other night. There were thousands, it was 500, 600 people. I've invited the honourable member to come see in real time, not reports of committees, to come and attend the event. I must say, Honourable Gopi attended it and she can attest to how successful the event was. But that is real development in reality, not little jokes, not little nonsense that we talk in this house. I just want to also speak, Honourable Member, let me also tell you the 240,000. And I really want to say this to you. It's in the lieu of our game changer for partial care. Now, do you know how many children are exposed after school because their parents are working class parents? They haven't got places where they can pay for them to go to after school. And those are all, you know that 240 goes to all of those partial care centers where children after school go into a safe environment, they can do their homework. We did an independent audit that you complain about those consultants. We had to get independent people to do it because government, was all a lich. So one of the point about that is, now the one point about the independent auditors that they found, you know what they found? That we have some of the best performing aftercare centers. So our children would have been murdered. They would have been again shot in Lavendale. They would have been raped if we didn't have those partial care centers. So remember that. And these are working class people, children. I know you can afford it. Our children go to all these little middle class nice places. Those are working class children that's most vulnerable. Please, member, have a heart for our working class. Please. The other point I just want to also make of the honourable member, Like in any place when people work and when people have enough experience, they get promoted. They apply for this, for promoted or promotion. They get promoted, and that leaves another vacant post somewhere. We wish we can really appoint all our 300 unemployed social workers in this province. And you know, that I'm really, really worried about our social workers. But you see again, and I don't always criticize the national department, but they start things without looking at the bigger picture and they don't look down the line. They give bursaries to everyone, so everyone gets the bursaries. Down the line, there's no more post for those poor social workers. We are now working on a way of getting volunteerism, and a lot of social workers are actually volunteering. I know you're anti-volunteerism, but there's a nice spirit of volunteerism. The ANC, as against it, because you pay volunteers and you don't pay volunteers. Anyway, let's go on. I also just want to say, Honourable Member, I want to make this point about, you say only DA. You know, if anyone come to me and they say to me, I apply for funding because I'm a DA, I skop him uit my DA. I kick him out of the door. Because no one come with party little affiliation and think they're going to get some form. No, I tell you that. I tell you that. Ask some of the NGOs. We kick them out. I promise you that. So I will give you the undertaking that all those 2,000 NGOs that we fund are people from all spectrums, whether they're blue, whatever color, they are funded. And that's the point. Unfortunately, one must comply, madam. I know you don't believe in law and order, and you don't believe in the rule of law, but unfortunately, we must comply. Not you, your party. That's the reason. Let me finally also, Honourable Deputy Speaker, I also want to just allow the House to just say thank you to Dr. MacDonald for a brilliant job with his senior staff sitting at the back. Ladies looking very seriously. Really say to them, thank you for a good job doing. You know, constant clean audits we're getting every year. It's great. Continue the great work. And please say thank you to every social worker, to every administrator, to everyone for the work that they do. You know, that we really... also, on the Deputy Speaker, I want to also use this opportunity to really thank my personal and my ministerial staff. The ministerial staff, and I want to perhaps use one person, they pulled off our Ministerial Youth Excellence Awards, and Leon Langeveld was the person, the project manager, with every single one of the young persons called Lazola, Crisalda, Carl, Akifa, Bernadine, Francis, and Mawetu, for the great job they did in pulling off a brilliant Ministerial Youth Awards, where the Premier had the honor of speaking at, and we say, not we had the honor, we said the Premier had the honor of speaking at our Youth Awards because he saw youth development in practice. And I really want to say thank you also to the House, and I want to say thank you to the honourable members from the opposition and our own members and the chairperson, if she can pay attention, chairperson, for your work and for the way that you are managing the committee, because I see the choir, the Christmas choir here at the back is distracting my member. Thank you for the work that you are doing. We really appreciate it because we must be held accountable. I want to just make that point. Thank you for holding us accountable and that we can account to the nation. Thank you very much.
That concludes the debate on this vote. The Secretary will read the